I can also tell you the number of times I've been with a player drop down on somebody else's chalk line, and it's not a straight putt. Right?
You know, sometimes I do it wrong on purpose.
Why?
The chalk lines, just to mess with people. You know, like
I thought you were going to give our viewers some really good instructional content there. Tony Ruggiero here. If you like what you're listening to on the Tour Coach podcast, if you like me and the guests that I bring in and we sit around trying to help you with your game of golf, please do me a favor. Make sure you like and subscribe. And most importantly, would you please drop me a comment below about how I can help you with your golf game? That's why I'm here, to make you play better golf. All right, joining me here on another Tour Coach. I'm so excited about this one. First of all, new sponsor. Check out this transfusion. I'm about to have a luxurious sip. Staycay transfusions. We'll get the website's going to be on the podcast here for y'all. But anyways, new sponsor. Excited about. I think I need more transfusions this year is all I'm going to say. But we've got a great episode here today. Will McFadden, who many of you know, one of my young pros, and we love him hanging out here in the golf dorm. And then it's a legend.
Oh, no legend.
A legend.
No legend.
The legend. From Mexico, PGA Tour, Corn Ferry Tour. First DewSweeper experience here at the golf dorm, Bobby Diaz. Bobby, what's right. And look, I said last time I introduced you, I've had you one time on this podcast, and I introduced you as my favorite tour player I didn't teach. Well, guess what happens?
I'm back. I'm back.
It's kind of like I was hitting on him.
Yeah,
you know,
courting him.
I was courting him. I haven't even bought him dinner. Well, we did kind of
foreplay.
Yes. He gave
it was all foreplay.
Yeah. Bobby Diaz, and first of all, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Down here, we're going to do a little work tomorrow. Will caddying for Yvette O'Brien, one of our good. She's not a junior anymore, college player at TCU, and now down here to do some work. And so here's this question. I was sitting over there drinking my transfusion from Staycay, and I thought, I was listening to you two talk a little bit about golf, and you and I talked earlier about Tom Lovelady, when Tom first on tour. That's where I met you first time. And, you know, as Tom got older, he was always great. Like Will in college, in high school and college, spent a bunch of time around Tom. Always great giving back. I remember watching Lucas with the Tom Loveladies and those guys, and Bill Haas and all of those. I always find it interesting, like watching the veteran talk to the younger player, because sometimes to me it's just interesting watching the veteran. Like you can see they start thinking back, right, and it triggers things. It does.
Yeah, you can.
So when you look at a guy like Will, who's been out a couple years, and he's, you know, and like I saw y'all talking about Q School, like you can see it triggers memories and thoughts of like, man, like when I was that age. So what would you tell him?
Yeah, so you can save a lot of time by talking to people that have already gone through all the, you know, their hurdles on, not all of them, but most of the hurdles in their career. And, you know, like I told you a second ago when we were having dinner, we had dinner at the US Open with Jason Birbam, that I worked with Jason for years, and he's one of my good buddies, and I love him to death. And when I first started working with him, he had Chris Goddard up, and Chris was in high school. So I remember,
you know, he's pretty good now.
Yeah, he's decent. Yeah,
doing fine.
So Chris came to.
If he had a Staycay, I think he'd have the whole thing licked.
Chris came to the Travelers when he was at Rutgers. He wouldn't even. I think by the time he wasn't even at Oklahoma, he was at Rutgers, and he walked with Abraham Anser, Joaquin Niemann, and I inside the ropes at the Travelers. So he got to see the tour from the inside the ropes, even when he was a freshman in college. So I think that really helped him. You know, we need to ask him now. We need to ask Jason too. Like, I think that really helped him understanding that the difference in between tour players and mini tour players and college players is not that much. You know, like tour players are really good, and obviously the top 10, top 20 players in the world are in a different level, but college kids and good amateur players are also really good. You know, the difference is that tour players do it in every single city, in every different grass all year long. And amateur players and college players, they don't really know how to do it all year long in different grasses, at different time zones, at different weathers. So once you start doing that and you start realizing, like, okay, like I thought Adam Schenk, one of my good buddies on tour, his interview after he won was amazing. You know, he has a different driver for every city he goes to because he doesn't swing as fast as he does at John Deere, as he does at Riviera or Torrey, because the weather is different. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference in between very good tour players and, you know, very good college players. And I think once you take a kid that doesn't understand or he's trying to learn, you can save him a lot of time by answering questions like that. You know, like if Will has a question about Q school, you know, Q school is survival. You know, like as long as you don't mess it up I messed it up a month ago, but you know, as long as you don't mess it up, you're gonna have a chance to get through. You know, it's just survival. Because once you play 18, 36 and guys start making bogeys, it's very difficult to catch up. But if you're just steady and making ground, like people at the end are gonna collapse. And it happened to me a month ago, and I was one of the guys that collapsed. But that doesn't mean that I will collapse again. But it's what happens, you know, and that happens in Monday qualifiers. Like, you know, you have to play your tournament rounds like you play Monday qualifiers because it frees you up. It frees you up. You only have one chance. It's kind of like if you have that mentality in a tournament, that freezes you up every day. Like, a point in my career, I always thought that when I play my best, I took every day as a Monday qualifier. Because if I knew if I was in the top 3 that day, I was going to have a good tournament.
At the end of the week, it'd be a good week.
So you go through stages, you learn, you also try things. And I think that by changing your mindset and like talking to veterans, you will save a lot of time in the process. I mean, I don't know what you think.
And I've been really lucky to be around a bunch of guys. Like we just met today, but it's
you guys are going to go play in Mexico together
being around.
Probably May.
That's true.
If the Mexican Tour is watching, Will needs an exemption, and we really need him to play that Puebla event.
Yes,
I'm just letting you know.
Puebla event, Mexican Tour.
Tony's coming.
Yep, I'll come. We'll do a podcast live with Stay and
a bunch of drinks.
Diaz.
But
no, seriously, we need to get Will in the Mexican Tour. If you're listening, anybody out there, Mexican Tour, Will McFadden, frequent guest, great player. We'd love to get him a start. So anyways, go ahead and talk about
I was going to say, I've been super lucky to be around all of the great players in my hometown that have come up, you know, the Bobby Wyatts and guys like that. And then been lucky enough to be around all of your guys for the last few years. And you let me come to golf camp in college. That was one of the best experiences of my life, to be able to play with 8 professionals in a span of 4 days. Like that's where I've learned some of the most of my stuff. So I think that's great advice.
I've always been amazed as you watch the different levels of professional golf and college golf. Like, it's just refining the organization of the player. Like, so when I go to a tour event, a PGA Tour event, most players are very structured. They go out, and if you watch week to week, they do the exact same thing. A lot of them have it condensed to where their hours aren't out there as much, and they do their shit, and they get in and they get out. You go to the Corn Ferry Tour, you see some that are that way. You see some that you can tell if you go 2-3 weeks in a row, you can tell they're trying different things each week. You can see they've got different training aids, different setups.
I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there, and I think when I played my best golf was when I had a schedule and I had everything organized to do the same every day. Mm-hmm. One of the best caddies I've ever had, JP, he scheduled my days, as how good or bad I was playing. So it was no negotiable. If we finished doing our drills, I wouldn't stay on the course. He'll be like, all right, let's go. And he'll pick up the bag, he'll pick up the TrackMan, and he'll pick up everything. And I didn't have an option. Because he's like, if you look on Wednesday afternoon, if you look down the range, you'll see the guys that are going to miss the cut. And I mean, I'm not going to say any names.
No, but
it's true. You had the same guys on Wednesday afternoon hitting golf balls, trying to find something to play Thursday. And I never saw the best players in the world. You know, the best players in the world, they came in, they did their job, and then they left. And, you know, unfortunately, I wasn't one of the best players in the world. And most Wednesdays, I spend them trying to find something. But when I started playing really good, we had a schedule, and the schedule was followed. And then, you know, it's like studying for a test. You're not going to study for the test 10 minutes before your round or your test. You're going to study for 2, 3, 4 months. Then by the time you're ready, you go take the test.
He didn't go to Troy. You don't study for 4 months for anything.
That's
in Troy.
right.
Yeah.
I went to
Get a couple of
USCA
days,
committee.
you're good.
No, but seriously, like, did you like what I said about like each level? And then you go back to college. You have like your very best players in the world in college, and they're closer to one of those other levels. But then as you go down, as the quality of teams, and you go down the level of golf, the organization, and you might see guys. I've gone to college events and seen and like USAMs or AMs and seen golf swings that if you don't know who it was and you just watched and you heard it, you'd be like, man, that guy's a top 10 player. But then you pull back out and you look and they got shit everywhere. They're trying different things, this, that, and the other. Like some of those golf swings are better than the people that are 3 levels up. And I think like everybody at the club, this guy just smashes it. Like he's good enough to have done it. Like, well, no, there's a huge difference each level you go up. And I think a lot of it is organization around what you do, understanding what you do. I think each level you go up, you figure out how to do it in less time and be more efficient so that you have more time to rest. And, you know, I think that they're organized, they understand what they're working on, and I think they get where they have a really good idea and a surrounding group of people that monitor so they stay closer to it.
It's true. And then one of the things that this caddy used to tell me, JP, we didn't do any putting late in the day. Never.
That's interesting.
The greens are bad.
So if we did a make drill, he would tell me, if you want to work on your make drills, we're working in the morning and when the greens are fresh. And I'll ask him why. And he's like, well, you're working on your confidence. You're not working on missing putts. You're working on making putts. So I remember playing the West Coast. We never did a make drill after 12 p.m.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because POA and people are walking on the putting green. Then by 4:30 p.m., the greens are chewed. He's like, are you working on like your confidence, or you want to make them, or why are we out here? You know, like if you want to work makes, let's go in the morning, work on your makes, and if you're not making them, you know, well, we need to do some technical drill, but it's not like we're working on you not making putts.
Sure.
So I don't want you to hit putts at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday.
But people do that all the time.
Yeah. He's like, why are you going to hit those putts?
Yeah.
And then you'll find a straight line on Paul and Torrey Pines, and the ball never goes in. So he's like, why are we hitting this?
I can also tell you the number of times I've been with a player drop down on somebody else's chalk line, and it's not a straight putt. It happens. It happens, right?
You know, sometimes I do it wrong on purpose.
Why?
The chalk lines. Just to mess with people. You know, like
I thought you were going to give our viewers some really good instructional content
like
there.
I will go there.
We'll write a Golf Digest article on that one.
I will make a right to left, and it might be low, and you know, and I don't clean the chalk, or I just leave it there. And people will be
Do
standing
another
over that putt thinking that they're putting bad.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and I'm like, I just do it just to have fun. But maybe it's not that nice.
All right. What else would you tell youngster here?
I searched a lot.
He's the patron saint of searchers.
I search a lot. I search for perfection, and perfection doesn't exist. And you know, that was my biggest flaw in golf. I searched too much. Everything had to be for a reason, and everything needed to be better. And I just never gave myself credit for where I was. And I think that's the reason why I'm standing here playing Monday qualifiers, because I never gave myself enough credit. I always made a bigger deal of playing bad golf, and it's not worth it. It's really not worth it.
But you've learned now.
Late, but yeah, I've learned. You know, like I had a few hard pills to swallow in the last few years, and you know, now that I'm looking at golf in a different way, I realize that I was too hard on myself. And I was always looking to get better in the wrong way. I wasn't looking to get better by getting my strengths better. I was looking to get better by, you know, making my weakness not as weak, and I struggled. And that really crippled into my strengths, and then all of a sudden I was in shambles.
I see. It may be because of these phones and all the information out there, but I see a lot of golfers that are good. I'm talking good AMs to college to young pros that just ruin themselves. Like they hit it really good and they keep thinking it's got to be better. And I think that and there's nothing wrong. Obviously, like you go in the bay tomorrow, there's a quad and there's your TrackMan and there's fourth place. But I had a kid not long ago, Bobby, like this kid striped 15 7-irons in a row. And, you know, and he's kept looking at my what? And he's like, but did you see that my face to path is whatever? But I mean, it's like, or my path was 2 degrees too much this way. And I'm like, you know, and they're like thinking they're doing something wrong. You know, you see that now. You didn't used to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I can name you. I mean, I'm not going to talk about anybody else. I'm going to talk about myself. But I remember a couple of years ago, I was playing really good. I finished third in Utah. The week before, I played great. And I didn't have my TrackMan out. And the week after, I went and put my TrackMan down, and I saw my swing direction was 8 to the left. And I absolutely freaked out. But I was striping it. I was playing amazing. I was playing good golf. Left wasn't a miss, and I freaked out. Absolutely freaked out. I couldn't believe how. I mean,
that's a great story.
It just like messed with my head. I just finished third in Utah. I think I was going to go to New Jersey in the Corn Ferry, and I was like, I just couldn't wait to get to the range to fix my swing direction. But I played awful, barely made the cut, finished 50-something, and then I went to Boise, which was one of the best tournaments I've ever played, and it's a golf course that I really liked, and
Amelia likes it.
Amelia won, yeah. And all I could think about was, how can you have 8 degrees left in swing direction? And that really messed me up for months. But you can fix your swing direction by aiming to the right or by changing your ball position. And all I can think about was, how can I get rid of my swing direction going left? And it ruined me for months. But, you know, I think that's the reason why the best players in the world, like, I really like Scottie Scheffler.
Oh, how can you
I
not?
think that, not because the way he plays, but the way he practices. I mean, he has a training grip on a 7-iron. He puts a pencil behind his, his grip. Every club, every time he hits it, he double checks his grip, and it's a ball position, and like his fundamentals are just
Perfect.
unbelievable. And I think those guys on the top of the world, they're just very good at doing very boring things.
Yeah. I mean, it's like everybody knows it, is they do the simple things and they do them well. But like one thing, kudos to, I'm going to give credit on the teacher side with Scotty from what Randy Smith has done, which is he's got out of the way, a lot of it, coached him, developed him. I mean, and then as you guys know, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, like how much I enjoy being around my guys and the impact you have. I mean, you can see when Scotty talks about Randy, the relationship and the affection there. But that's a cool story, though.
Yeah, and I also think that, for Will to save a lot of years, I don't think,
Get a new teacher.
I think coaching, like teaching golf and coaching golf, it's a really big misconception. Like, I think that there's a lot of really good teachers, technical teachers, and people that have a lot of knowledge, but I think there's not enough guys that teach you how to play.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So I think that there's a there's an opportunity for guys to learn how to play by getting a mentor.
Yeah.
Like
Definitely like
it's
somebody done
very
it.
yeah, it's very different to go. I'm gonna use Emilio as an example. Emilio stripes it. It's a very nice, but he doesn't tee it up high when in every hole, and he probably hits down on the driver more than he hits up, and he probably uses a low bullet in a lot of places, and
Yeah.
he probably doesn't like to draw it to pins around the left, and if he has a bad lie, he moves the ball back and squeeze the leading edge down, and those are things that you need to learn by playing. You don't need to ask a guy, "Oh, what do you think about this lie?" Like you need to figure out what the lie is. Like one of the things that I loved about Bryson when I was on the PGA Tour and I saw him practice, he will like put water on the balls to see what the spin rate was, or he will like hit from the rough and see what the spin rate was. Like everybody talks about Bryson being like this, crazy physics, whatever, but he tried everything.
Yeah.
So when it's wet, he knows that the ball is going to spin more. When it's dry, he knows that the ball is going to fly more. So because he tested, not because somebody told him, "Oh, I heard
Yeah.
that this is happening."
10%.
No,
Something
he
like
knows. So same thing, when you drive it on a divot, practice from a divot, practice from a bad lie, practice from into the grain, down grain, practice from side hills. Like, yeah, it's not a lot of fun to create your lies around the tee box, but I mean, you're gonna get lies on the course that you never practiced before.
Mm-hmm. And yet, and this is applicable to every level of golfer or somebody listening, is like majority of people just go drop balls on the range and they hit from a flat spot. And obviously, that's where we have most people practice. But, most golfers, especially around the greens, like if they go practice, they drop a bunch of balls in the same spot, hit the same
Yeah.
chip off that. Like they don't drop balls around the greens and just play them as they lie. It'd be huge for people.
Yeah, and then
I mean,
for amateurs, it will be amazing if they can practice their chipping with a pitching wedge.
Yeah.
Instead of a 60. And then we'll understand that it's easier to hit a pitching wedge around the greens than it is to hit a 60. Not because Tiger uses 60, you need to use a 60. No, use a pitching wedge, use an 9-iron, learn how to roll it, put it in front of the stands, take the heel out of it. Use a putting grip, use a cross-handed grip. I mean, there's a ton of ways to hit it, and
I think you talk like you guys just figured it out, learned, right, and experimented. And people today don't like when they learn, it's like they just find one shot and they just go do it. Whereas like you could tell you tried to figure out how to hit a whole lot of different shots.
I was talking to my cousin, this is in Mexico, over the break. His kid's playing golf now, and my cousin has his kid, he's 13 years old, and tells me, hey man, how many hours did you go to the golf course when you were growing up? I don't know. Oh, I tell my son to go 6 hours. I'm like, well, I probably spent 13 hours on the course. I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you do? You didn't get bored? No. We played 9 times the par 3 course. We went around, and then we will play with 3 clubs, and then we'll play the course backwards, and then we'll play with no putter, or we'll hit only driver on the par 3s, or we invented a game just to gamble. And we didn't gamble for a lot of money. We gambled for
whatever,
maybe a soda and some chips. You will give me shit because you think Mexico only has tacos, but we'll have some chips.
Why'd you have to turn it into that?
I don't know. Just look like a guy that does that. But yeah,
I offered him a transfusion from Steak.
Just understand that learning the game, it's like you need to try things.
Yeah.
Like
he knows I'm big on one of my favorite things, and I've done it with lots of players, just dropping 3 balls randomly on the odd holes when you're going to play 9 holes.
Yeah.
And it's 9. Try to get where you can get 6 out of 9 up and down, and chip them and just throw them random, and wherever they lie, go chip it and putt it. Like I've always done that, or around a chipping and putting green, and we've done a lot of that, and I've done that with lots of players. But like that's so simple, and it's like when we were kids, we did stuff like that. The people don't do it as much now, but that's such a good drill, because to me, it's simulating real golf. I mean, if, like you said, if that ball rolls down up against the collar, you play it there. You don't move it over and then hit it, because then
I used to play from the reds a lot, just to make sure that I make a lot of birdies. And then I will also play the course teeing off with an iron. So then I will have 220 in.
Right.
Or 210 in. Because when you're practicing 4 irons and 5 irons on the range, you'll hit one after another one after another one. But if you play golf and you leave yourself 210 every hole, that's when you start realizing, okay, I'm not going to make birdie, but I want to make bogey.
Yeah.
So you start aiming away from the pins. You start being okay with having 50 feet.
Yeah.
You work on your lag putting too, you will have to make up and down more often than. So doing games like that is just very important. I think that, I haven't been around kids lately, but I don't think kids are very creative anymore.
Well, no. But I also think some of the creativity you talked about, or we were talking about people like wanting to make it perfect and hit these numbers. And I think they only worry about doing something perfect instead of just going out there trying to hit shapes and shots and be creative,
Well, yeah,
I
fall into that too. I've tried to get zeroed out, and it was probably the worst mistake of my life.
I think something as simple as like that game you were playing with Zoo today, like where you're hitting a club at a flag on the range, but on every shot you say, oh, this pin's on the right, can't go right, or this pin's on the left, can't go left. Like
just doing that,
you'd be amazed.
I do that all the time. Like just especially with all players, but like you get good folks really trying to get a lot better, or college kids or juniors. It's like don't just think about the number you're trying to hit. Think about where you're trying to miss it. Like it can't go left to this hole, can't go right. Like amazing how different you start to aim and figure it out. Yeah. But if all you do is hit a full 7 iron or 5 iron, or like you were talking about 4 irons on the range, And
I think that's the way people play. Like when they get out there, they're trying to miss it on the right side of the hole, but we're so used to hitting it at the same target over and over again that our brain's just gonna make us push it over there to it. So we don't really know how to play it. And just a game like that makes you get creative.
I mean, and I remember I talked to Lorena Ochoa. I was lucky enough to meet her, and now we're good friends. But talking with her,
we need to get her on the podcast.
I don't know if you can handle Lorena. She has a lot of stories. She's very, very fun. But I don't know if you can handle that.
No, we can handle it here.
But no, she was talking, like she said a couple times, like if she was on the range before a tournament and she will not be able to draw it, she never draw it on the course. And if she wasn't able to fade it, she never tried to fade it. So imagine if you go to the range and you hit the first 5 balls are not cutting, okay, perfect. I will never cut it.
Yeah,
she went to
day.
the course and she just drew it.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I mean, Lorena won 29 times. I mean, she's one of the best ever.
Best ever, yeah.
But she always said, I dance with the partner I brought to the dance. I didn't really fight it.
Yeah.
So if she was drawing it, it's not like she was trying to cut it on the course. She kept drawing it. And then, you know, her putting, she always pushed it. You know, nobody talks about her putting, but she pushed it. And she never fixed that because she knew she was going to push it a ball to the right. So when she had a straight putt, she aimed a ball left and pushed it.
Dance with what you brought.
Yep.
Different ways to do it.
Guys, this was awesome. Thanks for
Thank you.
Thanks for coming and staying. Will, thanks for always hanging out.
Well,
here.
thanks
for having me.
Yep, and we'll do this again sometime here in the golf tour.
We will. Thank you.